one, two, three, one, two, three. Let's see. I'm ready. How are we doing, everyone? Can you hear me? I just want to make sure the audio is okay first. How's it going, everyone? Okay, everyone can hear me? Let's move in. Let's move into my red lights. It's very red in here today. Yeah, it's just very red. Let's move that way a little bit. There we go. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Let's see what's happening. Shall we? Oh. Sorry, my cat wants to go out. She's been hiding. You wanna go out? You wanna go out? You wanna go out? No? Yes? She's been difficult. She's at the door, but she doesn't know what she wants to do. You going out or not? No? Alright, I'll leave the door ajar and you can figure it out yourself. Let's see where we're at. Hello, hello. Thank you, Tyler. How's it going, Adhi? And yeah, we had some nice Sonic music on there for a second. Everyone can hear me. I'm loud and clear. Dark pink. Maybe that's the vibe we're going for here. Did I cut my hair again? I cut my hair last week at the back because it was getting very unruly. So yeah, I shaved the sides of the hair. You can't see the cat on the camera. She's just like down there at my feet. So yeah, that's what we did. Okay, so how are you doing tonight, everyone? I just watched something. Actually, I'll say it in a second. I need to I should probably put this on like Twitter or something. But I'm streaming, so give me a second and I'll figure. I should have done this earlier, but you know, other things were in the way. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I can just tweet out the link because I'm not feeling particularly stream. This is how I talk. So stream. There we go. That's what I'm going to say in my post, and I'll post that right now. Okay, there we go. Anyway. Okay, but yeah, what are we saying? So, as per usual, I should probably do a little housekeeping for a second. Oh, cat is on the floor. Cat, what you were so... The cat has like got on the floor and she's just like doing the pet me kind of thing, where she lays on the floor. But yeah, it's a bit awkward to do that while I'm on camera. She needs to come up. Right, so let me double check some things. So I was going to do some housekeeping and say, let's grab this video. So yeah, a couple weeks ago, copy link address. I'll post it in chat just in case anyone has noticed. I released this video about Fantastic Planet and a video on Nausicaa. That's what we've done recently, and there was also an update video too. So we had a little clump of videos there. Currently, we are working on, I am working on 4C month, which is something, usually, I don't know if you're new to the channel or whatever, but every December, I don't know if it's been every December, but I've kind of made it a December thing now. I think the original one came out in October, but like, somewhere during this period, December's usually the best time to do it, because, you know, that's when your ad rates are up, and in the Christmas period, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, we'll be doing a bunch of videos on the Studio 4C. An anime studio that has about 15, give or take, movies, or 15 projects, like major theatrical projects, slash, there might be a couple like little extra bits and pieces there. I guess there's technically more than that, but yeah, we're probably going to get like 15 or so videos on them, and then at the end I'm going to try a new experiment where I want to turn those 15 videos, and a little bit of extra, I'm going to be making like a director's cut, I guess, where I turn the whole thing into one big video. To see how like performance is doing that, I guess. I'm kind of curious how that will work. But yeah, it means that the final video will have a couple extra sections that I couldn't turn into single videos. You know, like on some like smaller bits, like some of their video game cutscenes or lots of their shorts on their own, or maybe some anthologies will get in there. Maybe we'll talk about their video game they did for Google. Just these little extra like caveats. I don't know if their TV show about witches will turn into a video, just because I don't know if I have much to say about it. But it will probably be mentioned in the more long form, structured version where I probably turn all the videos into like one continuous thing. Maybe trying to polish them up. Depends how time goes, but maybe I'll try and adjust little bits and pieces of those and turn them into like a full thing by the end. So I guess it's kind of like a work in progress turned into a full video kind of structure, and I want to see how that does. Because yeah, I originally had considered just turning it into one big video, but I think it's just very risky because I don't think 4C's name quite has the power as like some of its titles. So I'm going to see how it works by doing both. Yeah, that's the general idea at least. And I just finished watching something called, I think it was called First Squadron, which, to be blunt, out of all the stuff I've seen from 4C so far, First Squadron was not very good. It was, from what I understand, a Russian-written small anime film, like an hour long. I'm not really sure the context of it yet. I'm gonna have to look this up, but like it was a Soviet-era Nazi occult film, what seems to be based in something that's much, I'm guessing, larger than this. I'm having a hard time figuring because it doesn't really end like on the end, and it's sort of, there seems to be implying that it's like a pilot more so in a way, but I did not find it as interesting as the rest of their output for sure. HFC World, yeah, it is gamer time. When I tap gamer, it changes the light on the orb, as you can see. Gamer. My wrist is getting a little bit better, so maybe games are in my future, but I've got to be careful still, so I haven't played too much of anything really. Yeah, so let's see. Getting some bread. Good. Bread is good. I'm pretty full though. But yeah, 4C is interesting. What films will I be starting with in regards to 4C? Alexandro. So I was curious about how I would start it, and I came to the conclusion that it would be Memories, because originally I kind of got the conclusion that like, oh, did it die? My orb might have died. Give me a sec. You dead? You're out of power. I think the orb is out of power. For shame. I don't know what to do about that right now. Actually, I could probably. All right. Oh, cat! Do not claw my socks. Don't be cheeky. All right. There we go. So it's cat. Stop playing with my knees. Alright, so yeah, Memories is something that was probably mentioned when I did a Madhouse month, because one of the shorts is from Madhouse. But I didn't cover it back then. I've mentioned Memories in the past when I did a Satoshi Kon video, because Koji Morimoto, and Kon worked on the first short, which has probably became the most famous these days, which is Magnetic Rose. Where are you going, cat? Oh, do you want to go out again? Go on then. Go on. No? Okay, cat. So cat's just being awkward. Right, so yeah, Morimoto and Kon did the first short, but there are two other shorts, one by Otomo and another by one of Madhouse's main like animators. It was originally supposed to be for Kawajiri, but he rejected the proposal, if I remember right. He didn't think it matched his style, which is probably true, but he became like the supervisor for it. But yeah, so Madhouse did one, but looking at the interviews from like Tanaka, who's like the main producer, one of the founders of 4C, there's kind of this idea, at least in there, that like, yeah, effectively though, the whole Memories project was a 4C production, and they were in control. So even though Madhouse was asked to do one of the shorts, it was at the request of 4C, and 4C was still the holder of the whole project. and I've covered Madhouse before, so it seemed right that to start there. And you'll see that as well. I'm also covering. I didn't think I'd do a video on this, but considering 4C's relationship with the project, I will be also be covering Animatrix, because 5 of the 9 shorts were made by 4C, and their producers were like in hold control of the production. It was like Wachowski's, Tanaka of 4C, and Michael Ayres, I believe it is, or Arias, who was also in it. So and Arias and Tanaka are mainly a 4C sort of house thing. But yeah, majority of the shots are from them, and there's a couple of extra ones. A couple from Madhouse, again, who are very antiquated with 4C, and a couple from Outside Factors, but for the most part, it is a 4C production, too. And they seem to have quite, oh, hello, cat. The cat might want to get on the lap. I don't know what she wants. She's being a bit strange. Oh, okay. You're just gonna sit there? I can't tell if she's on camera or not. Is she on camera? No. Maybe we're just. There we go. Tiny bit of cat camera. Maybe I lower my chair a bit. There we go. Oh. There she is. Okay. Now you're here too. Okay. Yeah, so the orb is going good, guys. Ray, do I think I'd do a video on something more, recent? Probably not. It really depends. Usually I wouldn't. Not necessarily because I'm disinterested, but it's just like, what do I have on the schedule, or what am I planning to do? And chasing trends is not one of them, because I'm really bad at it. Sunny Boy, interesting title for sure. I think like the only way I would talk about Sunny Boy is if I could literally get an interview with one of the animators, or like talk to someone on the production. But outside of that, there's like, I don't see a reason for me talking about it personally. It doesn't seem to be particularly like I feel like it's an indie darling, but I don't think it particularly was a huge trendsetter, Sunny Boy, in the way that maybe they wanted it to be. So I don't know if there'd be much in it for me. Though it is a Madhouse thing, and it is certainly an interesting project from Madhouse after I thought they'd never do that again. So, I guess the only thing for me to say would be like, yeah, I was probably wrong about them never making an interesting or amazing project again. But, I guess a broken clock can be right twice a day. So what were we at saying? A roadside picnic, I'm not sure that one. And thank you, Saplo. Appreciate the comment. I wasn't thinking about losing hope on anything, but whatever. Spaceman James. Oh, it's not Halloween anymore, Spaceman James. We're not dressing up. In terms of my wrist, it's okay-ish. It's in the cast. I haven't been pushing it too hard, so like there hasn't been much worry. I've been writing a little bit with it, but yeah, I haven't been in huge pain. I went out for a cycle earlier, and it was okay during it. I haven't done any like hardcore drawing in a bit to tell you like if there's anything. I've been kind of careful with it because I've had so much to do recently. I don't want to like strain it, so I've been quite soft with the wrist. It seems okay-ish. Okay, Gabe, I see you're hitting the room already. Kung Fu Love. What is Kung Fu? I'm not familiar with Kung Fu Love. It's not a movie. Is it a short they did? From 4C? I can Google it, I guess. Oh, so it's like 10 minutes long. Where's it from? Oh, is it from one of their like compilations? Is it? Amazing Nuts, is it? Um, 2006. This is one of their short compilations, isn't it? Yeah, I haven't watched those yet because they'll probably end up getting on the short anthology part of the video, which might be this whole section, which I don't know if it'll turn into its own. It'll probably be just in the bigger video, just going through like all the just talking about a lot of the music videos and other little oddities from the studio. I'll have to check it out at some point though. I mean, I'll eventually. Although I haven't seen that one yet now, I'm afraid. What do I think of Makoto Shinkai? I've watched one Makoto Shinkai video movie 11 years ago. So, I can't really speak of it too much, to be honest, as a creator. The Heart. In terms of The Heart, I mean, it's okay. I've noticed a little bit of stress recently, quite frankly. It's probably because I've been I've been sort of skimping on exercising and meditating as much. So I've noticed a little bit of like creep coming back. So I've tried to get back on like a schedule of that because I feel even like in my mind that the idea like the reason I'd skimp out is usually because I'm like I've got too much to do. I've got too much to do. But like I feel like those things are actually really important to keep my focus and keep me working at a better rate than not doing them. So. At least for today, yeah, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling alright. I'm doing my best though to try not to like lose it. I guess I'm trying to keep on the balance beam because I still have a lot to do, and I think 4C month is a little bit stressful. But I've started it much earlier this year. But I'm trying to get everything done so I can have a bit of a rest during December. So a lot of me is thinking about I need to write faster, and I'm sort of getting a bit like goopy when writing. I'm struggling talking about a lot of these films because I've just had, I don't really know them or I haven't got really the interest in talking about a lot of them, and it's how I approach them. And that's a struggle for me, is finding ways to like talk about stuff when I don't really want to talk about it. And that wouldn't be so bad, I guess, if I was thinking of it in terms of one video where I could be a bit more loose. But I want a lot of these mainline ones to be like their own videos, so they have to be like at least 5 minutes. That's how I like to think about it. Oh, have a guess. You going off for you? All right, yeah. Have a good one, Tommy.
Bye.
Hope you have a nice one.
I will. Bye.
Sorry, what were we saying? What were we saying? How's the weather over here? The weather over here is it's kind of getting cold again. I went out for a cycle earlier and it was a bit chilly, and so I didn't go out for too long. I wasn't really prepared. I was in shorts at the time, but like I was, if I'm going out cycling, that's how it would be. You man. Oh, that was just my nephew. Don't worry about it. He was visiting, so he's just going. Sorry, what were we saying? Oh, does my cat want to go? Yeah, I know there's a new Blade Runner anime coming out from the same people who are working on it. I mean, it's been in the works for ages, but probably won't get to see it, to be honest. I'm not that really bothered about it. Oh, do you want to go, cat? Alright, here you go. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. Alright, fine. Do that. I'll change the colour of this now. There we go. Oh, did I spill my water? Yeah, like I know there's a new Blade Runner. I know there's a new Blade Runner coming out, anime at least. Although the production values I don't know who's working on it things, but like yeah, the production value of it kind of seems a little bit lacking. But the backgrounds at least look nice, I suppose. But they haven't got the Flying Lotus soundtrack I was hoping for. So like I'm pretty disinterested, quite frankly. Oh, you want to go out now, Cat? Alright, Cat, do you want to go? Or not? Go on. Go on then. I'll leave the door for you. Yeah, so God, what were we even mentioning beforehand? In terms of... yeah, I probably won't see the new Blade Runner anime, to be honest. I'm not really that bored. And in terms of coffee, I don't drink coffee. So, yeah, it's not the person, I'm afraid. More of a tea guy, but like I only drink like green tea or herbal stuff, really. I don't do good with the extra caffeine. Am I in a panic room? Yeah. This is my panic room. This is the where I stream. I stream in a panic room every time. You know, this is just how I cope. Oh, actually, the blue's coming out a little bit stronger now. On there. Wait a minute, I'll adjust the camera a little bit too. Yeah. What were we saying again? All right. Oh, okay. You're going under the the cat's being so funny. Yeah, it can be quite difficult to keep writing sometimes. But yeah, that's the future plan is 4C month. So at the beginning of December, or maybe I'll start a little bit before, who knows. But yeah, at the beginning of December, that will be when a bunch of videos will be coming out for 4C month. Hopefully we'll get a big one at the end. Looking at the size of these videos, like the whole final like finished video could be over 2 hours, maybe longer, 2.5 hours give or take. Like it's gonna be quite long as like a thing because it's gonna be all these videos like put together along with all the other. It's gonna be, yeah, it's probably the longest video I've done on the channel, and I hope it comes out alright. I don't know if anyone will be interested in the final product, but that's why I try the experiment first, because you know when it's 15 videos first, there's at least more attempt that like at least one of them is gonna do some number or like at least succeed, where the others can't, and then from there you might get them like carrying over the success to each next one. So that would be the hope. We'll see how it goes. After that, we'll be talking about other big projects. I've been, big on the Arno video that I'm hoping to do. I have like a couple planned for it, but 4C month has been quite all-encompassing. So like I haven't done like a lot on the Arno video yet, outside of I know some of the structural stuff I want to do. I know some of the animation bits I want to do. I'm hoping my wrist is in a good place by January to keep going on it. But yeah, we'll see. Did Watanabe work on the Blade Runner anime? He worked on the short they did for the movie, like the small one, and he might have some producer credit on the 3D anime that's coming out. I mean, HFC, I'm probably not that harsh on coffee users. If you want to drink coffee, there's nothing wrong with it. I've drank coffee in the past, it's just not my thing. How's it going, Soneherd? Soneherd? I think that's... Miyazaki can't take me down. You could try, but I think I'm in a good place not to get taken down by him yet. But I say that's my famous last words, isn't it? Famous last words. The Ghibli will not strike my channel into oblivion. We'll see. Ah, thank you, Rocket Cat. Very nice of you. Yeah, we're Sunday stream. That's what we do. Thank you, Sean. Would I make a video on live action films? If I was going to make a video on live action stuff, it would probably be like Kurosawa or something. The issue obviously is that like in like the YouTube space, right? When you make videos on like a specific topic on your channel, it's very hard to break out of those areas because you're basically starting from zero, and that can be a real detriment to how that video is did. And sometimes I'll make videos that are like risk videos, right? So, for example, the Fantastic Planet was a video for me. That's the one that's pinned in the comments. That was a video I did because I thought I'd like to do one on that, and it was coming after a big video, or what I'd assumed to be a big video. Miyazaki video is doing pretty alright. Like, it has a consistent, slow burn approach. I was maybe expecting it to hit a little faster, but I reckon it's just going to keep growing, so it's not really a concern, especially during December. I think the Miyazaki Nausicaa video is going to do a lot of growing during December, and it will, it'll probably hit 100k during that period. It's at about 65 now in the first month, just a little bit beyond the first month, which is fine. That's a good number, and it's continuing to grow, which is the key there. It's not about like fast growth, but like a consistent growth can be even better if you can just keep up those numbers for a long period of time. But yeah, when I did the Fantastic Planet video, that's a little bit out of my area. Like sometimes I've done this in the past, talk about like more world animation, and that video hasn't really picked up, and I did what I could. I think the thumbnail looks pretty nice on it. I've tried a couple different titles, and unfortunately, because it was a sponsor video, I was expecting it to do a lot better than it was, so I'm gonna have to deal with the fallout from that. But that's just how the game plays sometimes. Like if you try to do something that you which is a bit of a wild card, you don't really know how it's going to perform, which is why I tend to avoid doing them consistently. Usually it's best to do a wild card video after a video that succeeds a lot, because then you've got the leeway. But like there's a possibility of me talking about stuff like that in the future, but it's really just about timing, and like videos I want to do tend to take a long time, so I have to really plan out for when I'm doing something where I'm like, I'm not sure where this is gonna, this is a 50-50 for me. Even though, so like there are some videos that fail at first and then will like do well later on, but you can't run a channel on the idea of possible successes in the near future. I think that's really the key. Like when I did a video on the plane hijacking, that video did really bad at first, like really, really bad. And it did really, really bad for a very long time. We're talking November, December, probably maybe like 4 or 5 months. Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 months. It got not even 7,000 views, I think, in that time period. That's a very low bar. And out of nowhere, because someone else who was much bigger and released a video on the same topic, there was a couple of people who did, my video started building up some traction out of nowhere. Now it has, I think, 120,000. And that's just the randomness of YouTube sometimes. It will take someone else doing something, or something hitting the trending, or someone dying, and then a video can just like resurrect itself. But you can't rely on those sort of like chance events with every video. So that's usually why I'm not like as fond to just randomly try a lot of different things. But like I don't think it's not like say for like the music videos. Again, the last time I did a music video was the plane jacking one about Loralis the Nudie, and I was really interested in that topic, and I thought it was one I was originally going to do with a different creator on a different channel as like a collab, but their video didn't work out. They didn't want to do it in the end. I think they moved the topic back, so I said, hey, I actually quite interested in this topic, do you mind if I just take it and do it myself? And I did it. But yeah, after that video I was kind of like, well, they're too much of a liability, these music videos. Usually, like if I'm going to do one, I want to make sure it's I do it right, or it's something I'm really intense on. So things like Yellow Magic Orchestra could be one. I think I've talked to some friends in the past about maybe doing like a video on Vocaloid history again, but those are both a little bit like wild cardy. I could see the YMO one doing a lot better just because of how well known they are overall as like a band, but like it's still kind of but yeah, who knows what the future will take. Favorite Konami game? Probably Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. I mean, to be honest, Salo, the thing is, Miyazaki's old. I don't think there's much you could get out of him if you took over Hollywood. What would that even mean? His films already have pretty big budgets for what they are. You don't get much bigger than that in like Japan. Okay, how's it going, everyone? I'm seeing some new faces in the chat. I mean, the thing about like the hijacking story is, again, it's not really what the channel I do on the channel. Like, the channel's like about mainly animation. So like, well, I think the hijacking story is really fascinating, and that's why I want to make a video on it. it's real again. It's a real wild card to just like do those topics and expect people to watch, especially if it's not what your client, like, your core audience wants. It's very unlikely to break through unless you're like a really big channel. Because this is the thing, this is the unfairness. Like, if you're a huge channel who has a pretty solid, like, strong foundational audience who are strictly there for you as like a personality or whatever, you can kind of get away with doing whatever you want as long as it will break through beyond your core audience, which is not so easy to do when you're a much smaller channel. And, I could use the example of someone like Super Eye Patchwolf, right? Like, I don't imagine his core clientele were looking to watch a video on like Rivendell or something, or originally they probably weren't looking into videos on psychics or something. But I guess he's gotten to a position where he has such a devoted following that he can kind of, he can break through that barrier and make a video on whatever topic that he's feeling about. And that's not something you can do unless you are like that big and you know what you're doing. Do I? That's a very funny question. Again, a very funny name. Do I take any inspirations from what Werner Herzog? I like Werner Herzog. I watched one of his movies recently, his version of Nosferatu, but I don't know how I would take any inspiration from him necessarily. I do really agree with his perspective on like the idea of documentary filmmaking, because Werner Herzog is very anti this movement called the fly on the wall documentarian, which was this idea that you as a documentarian were like, you were outside the context of what you were showing on the screen, that you were just, literally a fly on the wall, that you're just there, you're not there to like impede a message onto the footage because it's a false positive. By editing the footage in a certain way with music and voiceover and whatever else, even if you're just showing footage, you are tailoring the audience to expect something. You are using the language of film, after all, which is the language of storytelling. So regardless, when you put the images on screen, you are not a fly on the wall. You are always the arbiter of the story, even if you pretend you're not. And it's cowardice to pretend you're not. So what Herzog does is kind of like the ultimate opposite side, where Werner will actively lie and make stuff up and just put things in his films that he knows will make good images, or will like present the story in an interesting light, because to him it's like a dream world, like it's cinema. So like even when it's presenting a reality, like it's not necessarily always a true reality, and that's not what he's about. He's not about the true reality. It's about the reality of the film talking, the filmmaking itself. I guess it's the idea of like fairy tales being true in fiction or something like that. He's a funny character. In terms of psychedelics, no. I haven't really spent enough time with Werner's. Like, I've seen some of Werner. I've seen Werner talk more than I've seen his films. So that's the problem there. Like, I've watched more of his his films, like his what would you call them? I've seen him more of his non-documentary work, and I've seen more of his behind the scenes stuff. Like, I've seen more of him talking in interviews and just random stories he's told, and like that clip where he gets shot. That's what I know Werner from. I know Werner from a lot of his behind the scenes stuff, more so than I've actually seen a lot of his documentarian stuff. So I think it would be hard for me to take like a hard line of like influence from him. Outside of, I think he's an interesting person. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Yellow Magic Orchestra would be a fantastic story to tell, I'd say. It's just that it would be a lot of effort. It was the kind of story where I was like, could I get some grant to do it? I was genuinely curious, like, could I get like one of those Japanese, British sort of like grant things to give me the money to like, instead of getting sponsored by like fucking whatever sponsor, could I literally get some money from a grant and be like, hey, I want to make this video on this very, very famous band that most people in my generation don't know a lot about. Would you put some money down so I can, get the resources and live for a couple months and make it? And then upload it on the internet. Would you let me do that? I'm generally curious if they'd like be interesting or not. I feel like the problem would just be like I'd have to like write up a tally for like what it would cost, and I usually can make videos on a pretty low salary. So, well, I would prefer it to be living cost too, but I don't know if I can get away with that. I could probably bullshit it a little bit. Maybe I'll buy a new camera or something. Buy some new tech while I'm doing it. I mean, before COVID happened, the idea would have been like I could get a trip to like Japan and talk to some like music people. Even if it's like I don't know, people who work in like music universities who have like a scholarship and know the impact of YMO on like a very you know, academic level. They can be like, this is this and this, and here's some stuff that only they would know as someone who's like studied it for years. Those are the kind of people I thought would be interesting to talk to. But obviously they'd probably need to know English because my Japanese is terrible and basically non-existent. Would I do a secondary channel for non-anime stories? Absolutely fucking not. Like, that would be a terrible idea. I don't know, it's hard enough to run one channel, let alone two. I'm not big enough to run two channels. Like, I do have a second channel somewhere, but it's like... The difference about running a second channel out of the ground is effectively like creating a completely new channel from the beginning and starting again. I think it would be an awful idea to split my resources, which are barely coming out to begin with one on one channel that has no views and one on another. Like, that's just... No. And also, I would make no money on the second channel. So, like, it would be a fool's idea, really. Like, that's just not how it goes. Like, maybe if you like $1 million channel, right, you can just start making different channels and split your interests off. But people who can do that tend to have, like, teams behind them. You know, teams of editors and other people that work with them. And then they split their stuff for, like, CEO reasons and such. But, like, you need to have a brand name behind yourself to really get away with that sort of stuff. Yeah, Werner Herzog got shot by, like, I think it was an air... I believe the way it went is he was in a BBC interview, and it was a stray... I think they want to say it was an airsoft bullet or something like that. It wasn't like a hardcore bullet, but like, yeah, he just got shot in the middle of an interview, and he was like, "What is that? That hit me." And they like, he's like, "Oh, I've been shot," haha. And they like pull it up, and there's just like, yeah, it's like a little, he's bleeding, and it's went all the way in, and they had to like pull it out, and yeah, and he tells a story very funnily, just because. You know, I think there was someone who even said like every time Werner tells a story, he becomes more bold, and the crew become more cowardly, and he just thinks it's hilarious. If I could get the grant, I would, but like I think it's a bit difficult. I don't know. It's a very difficult thing to, because these kind of groups that do like grant stuff, like they're used to old school like stuff. They're not really used to the new world of tech. So I feel it would be very hard for me to convince, because I'm not used to like convincing people for grants to begin with. So like it'd be a very weird mixture of like this is how the new world works, and they wouldn't understand that, and it'd be like, yeah, finding that middle ground, and like some of it might be legal too, because technically, like you know, like the grounds of fair use is obviously a little shaky at times. And talking about a band with such a commercial position, I won't be able to show much clips of like music which aren't like very short, and they might be a bit like uncomfortable about funding something like that. Considering the legal ramifications in that area, they may be a bit more like, I don't know about that. There's a lot of things that could happen there, and they may just not be interested at all. If I considered doing a video on Ralph Batsky, no, I'm not going to do a video on him. Learn Japanese. I do know a little bit, but like Profound Warrior, that's a ridiculous statement. Just learning a whole language takes a lot of dedication and time, and I've got a lot to do. I know bits and pieces, and I have been looking into it. Obviously, it's part of my job. Like I know, but like learning a whole language takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication. It's not as just as simple as, oh, okay, I can do that. It's also twofold. I mean, being a YouTuber has always been pretty weird. I mean, sponsors are just how you keep alive, though. Like, I think that's important to notice that of it. Like, yeah, because YouTube Pay is not really very good. Like, if you want to have like consistent, a consistent safety net, especially with things like streaming as well, which is why I do things like this. Is it's all about diversifying your income. You can't rely strictly on like AdSense. So sponsorships are a way that you can guarantee like hard sums of money for a video instantly without having to worry about demonetizations and such like that. But then you have to worry about like them performing, which is another stress. How's it going, Kami-san? How's it going, Connor? What's Vernon? Werner. I don't know who's Werner. Werner Herzog. It's not Vernon. It's W. It's German, isn't it? German because it's be Werner Herzog, but it starts with a W. Werner, but you pronounce it Werner. Where did I get that T-shirt? I think it's a bootleg T-shirt that I got online. You know. Yeah, there you go, Werner Herzog. A video chemist, I don't think it works that way. Applying the skills I have to make video essays into pitching funding is a little bit weird because again, like it's not really a dedicated situation. And when it comes to funding, that's a very different question in a lot of ways because it's a question of like, why am I getting the funding? What are the goals of the funding? Like, what do they want from me? And there's just like a lot of there's a lot of factors in there. Like, why do I need the budget to begin with from them? What am I actually using it for? Would be the key. Like, what can they offer me? Is really the question because obviously, like, I have a setup already. So, like, what are they? What am I getting from the situation? And that grant would be a lot of the question. And that is again, I'm not used to pitching stuff. That's a completely different skill set. It's a very different thing to do. It's a lot of and probably one that I'm not really as qualified at doing, quite frankly. And again, explaining something which is new world to people who like run the grants for like art exhibitions. It's a completely it's alien. But yeah, the T-shirt I think was from Red Bull. I don't know. It's a bootleg T-shirt. No, it says "Born to Hug." World is a cool. It's based on there were these bootleg T-shirts from around that back in the day had like these single English phrases that made no sense. One of them was this one's based off it, and it was sort of like "Born to Kill." I think "World is a fuck." Kill them all 1989, and this is the opposite version. This is the Moe version. Do I have strange stories from sponsors? I mean, generally, like when you talk to sponsors in your emails, a lot of them are just scumbags. The ones I've talked to in the past that I haven't gone anywhere with, like there's a lot of just random ones that have sent emails to me that are like really scuzzy, and then some of them were like, talking to VPN companies, especially. Like I remember talking to one of them and just being like, God, they were so fucking annoying. Like it's one thing to like start by bigging up like who you work for, but then to offer you such a pitiful sum of money, and then with these really small like parameters of time, like hey, you will only offer you this amount of money no matter how much the video gets, but also you need to get this amount of views in this amount of time. And I was like, are you for real? And then they told me how they figured out these things, and I was like, well, for one thing, you did the maths wrong, which was like even more insulting because it's like I instantly they showed me how they got the numbers, and I figured out that they had actually shortchanged me to begin with. And I was like, that's I don't know, like as soon as you find out that the company has like given you the tools to find out how they're fucking you, it's pretty impressive. And yeah, I don't know, it was not a good experience, quite frankly. It was a waste of time talking to them because I wouldn't been against doing the sponsorship, but like it was just such a frustrating mess. Yeah, and it just didn't go anywhere. Um, what are we even saying? Oh, I mean, I haven't worked with too many sponsors, to be fair, Kami-san. To be honest, the easiest one to work with, I believe, was, well, the problem is that you don't tend to work with sponsors directly. You tend to work with them like with a secondary company. Like once upon a time, what was it? Skillshare approached me through a different like consultant company, and that was actually a very easy sponsorship because we pretty much set the guidelines up straight away, and it was just done. That was really easy. Though I didn't. The problem is I don't think they do stuff like that anymore because I gave them like my estimates for like what I thought videos would do. They gave me the money. I didn't really ask for too much, to be honest, but like I did not perform at all, and I never talked to them again. Yeah, the videos just didn't perform as I expected them to, and I probably expected them to perform way too high. But this is generally now why they're also like skittish with like sponsorship. They're all like a lot of sponsorships are based off like predictive of your last 3 videos or how many views you do within a certain parameter of time, and then how much they'll pay you is relative to that. But then they'll have like weird caps and stuff. So those things can be factors, and yeah, I feel like a couple years ago it was a lot more simple, but I don't talk to too many these days because again, it's like they're a nightmare to deal with. But I guess that's the future I have to live, is trying to continue to find more. But I don't know. It really depends. Like, you know, your channel has to be performing well before they'll keep coming at you like at such a speed where you can just keep easily attaining them or like getting in good relationships with one. I think sometimes the key for a lot of creators is they find one company or one group that they work with consistently and they form a good relationship and just continue to sponsor the videos throughout the foreseeable future, which would be a nice thing to get to. But like, yeah, I think I need a more consistent. I think the videos this year have been more consistently viewed, but probably not to the level where like it would be easy to find that kind of relationship. And Video Chemist, I don't believe being a white male limited would limit my funding at all. It'd probably increase my funding, if anything. Absolutely, 110%, it would make it a lot easier for me to sort that stuff out. Because a lot of the people I'll be talking to are like already old associates. The problem is I'm just not from that world. Like, I don't know how to even pitch myself in a way that they would find palatable. So it would just be shots in the dark to begin with, and hoping that they would be willing to take the shot in the dark with me. I mean, yeah, the nature of sponsored content could be considered dystopian, but I think the nature of like anything what you have to do in a creative form that has to be like monetized and turned into something that like can sustain you to live and not die is inherently dystopic. Like when you think about it, like when you know the idea of having to do like making creative stuff and having to that's kind of just the game. Like that's how it was in the old days too. It's just you find ways of monetizing your art, and sometimes it's not ways that you would prefer it to be, but the idea would be, at least in a YouTube situation, a lot of the times like a sponsor isn't going to ask you to change your content at all. All they want you to do is read the script they give you. So like in that mind, it's kind of like, well, this is what you do to make the videos you want to make, and that's a compromise you need to make. That's just how it is. I think the more concerned part is when someone is asking you to change how you do something to like appeal more to their brand sensibilities or something. That's when it's a bit more like, oh. Um, it's not a uni grant, no. I'm not a university student, so that wouldn't be any good. But there are companies out there that I know. I don't know what you'd call them, but like I know there are I guess I like non-profits or something like that, but just like groups that are made to like they're about like Japanese English relations or Japanese British relations, and they sometimes fund like projects about like Japanese culture as like a for like the British public, and you can kind of see that with like the BFI has something similar to that, where the BFI has like a Japanese festival it does every year, where it runs like a festival where they get a bunch of older Japanese films and they tend to like present them around the country at like cinemas and screenings, and they'll sell them on their website usually. So like it's that kind of thing. It's just that yeah, the world of YouTube might be a little bit too new for a lot of them, and they might not necessarily be interested. But that would be the key. The problem is that the reason I thought a grant would be interesting for a project like YMO is it would be more for like traveling to Japan and talking to someone that they might have contacts with. Without that, I don't know if there's much reason for me getting the grant outside of it would be better than a sponsorship. But like the question would be like, would they be interested? And I don't necessarily believe they will. But it's worth an ask. I think sometimes it's worth to take a shot, even though like it's unlikely to go anywhere. That would be how I would see it. But yeah, like the question is like, what do I need the grant for? Usually, that's really the question. Because I remember talking to someone about that once, because I was looking into like an art course. I don't know what I'd call it, but there was sort of like a publicly funded like art thingy-majig. I don't know, like they were doing like an exhibition of art students who were making pieces for like a show, and it was like a month or so project where you'd get paid to sort of produce something, and it was probably off like the art grant off the local city. But I remember talking to them, and I think in the interview I said the thing that you're not supposed to say, which is like, well, realistically I don't actually need you. And I think that was what got me, because I was like, well, realistically I could do this on my own, which was true, but like you're not supposed to say that part. So like really with a grant, the question is like, I can't do this without you, and that's what you need to convince them. Um, Dylan, in terms of the Netflix Cowboy Bebop, it's not out yet, and I don't care. I mean, Kami-san, this is kind of just the game with YouTube. Is it's quite difficult to make videos pick up, and the kind of niche I'm in is sort of very selective, and it's really just a battle of the game is not always very easy. That's just how this goes, I'm afraid. Like, the only thing I can really say is that like, if you want the videos to do better, like the only thing you can do is, as an audience, is to share them, and promote them, and send them to friends, and share them on your social media, and that's really what does it, more than anything else. Than asking the question, it's more just a case of like engaging with the content and making doing the grassroots stuff to hopefully like get it in front of the right people, and then those people might share it, and maybe they'll share it, and then people with bigger audiences might share it. And, that's the game. Hmm. And video chemist, that is not a good idea at all. I'll worry about how to promote my channel. Thank you very much. But like, yeah, the companies that promote art supplies are not like small time businesses. They are giant companies, especially this day and age. You can't just like approach them and be like, "Hey, do a deal with me." That's not how it works. I mean, like if it was like a local business, you could try that stuff, but most of them probably aren't looking into like online YouTube channels as forms of promotion, because it's very worldwide, and not like local businesses are looking for local like promotion. They're not looking for necessarily. It's this whole thing, but yeah, it's not worth my time. Hmm. Denum? I don't know how to say that name, but I guess thank you for the kind comments, I guess. Cool. Do I need to do a hypothesis? I don't know what you mean by that. Um, well, the only reason I'm thinking about it, the reason I remember looking at the grants to begin with is because I knew someone who now was British but now works in Japan. I think they work for like IGN in Japan, but they used to run like a podcast that was about Japanese music, and they got some. I think they got a grant through that podcast to like probably just buy the equipment to run it, basically like probably like a microphone and maybe like a laptop or something, I don't know, like editing software. They probably got a small grant from them to like make it a thing that they ran. And I was like, oh, that's interesting that they did this online thing and somehow got funding through this thing to do it. Maybe I could do the same. That's why I thought like there could be something there, but I don't know. It's all hypothetical. It's a very strange name, Profound Warrior. I don't know what makes you so profound, but I've made videos about Watanabe and Cowboy Bebop. I've made like 3 of them. So yeah, my opinions are there. I mean, I appreciate it, Kami-san. Um, but yeah, I guess like commenting, sharing videos, that's generally how this goes, but that's just how it is. Maple Apple. It's a bootleg shirt, Maple Apple. I think I got it from like Redbubble or something. It's not an official product, so I wouldn't promote it. But I thought it was a funny T-shirt, so I bought it. I saw a funny picture. I saw the funny picture that's on the shirt, and I saw it. Someone else like, well, that's a really funny picture. I hope I could get it on a shirt, and I found someone who put it on a shirt. That's the story. Why am I not very active on Twitter? Because I'm doing other shit. Because I'm working. Like, what the fuck do you think I do all day? Like, spend all my time, like, just fucking tweeting bollocks on Twitter like that? I spend most of my day, like, trying to put together videos. So, like, I don't really have time to tweet stuff. And I'm not particularly... I feel like tweeting takes a sort of person that's very open with their just, like, random thoughts. And I'm not that kind of person. So I only feel like tweeting about stuff which is in relation to videos or stuff I'm doing. I'm not really that interested in the Twitter game, so I don't really play it. Maybe I should do more things, but I don't know, I find it very tiring, and I don't think it's really worth much to me. Do I think Goku can beat up Superman? Wow. I don't know. I say this to my nephew a lot because my nephew would ask those kind of questions, but he's 7, so there's a difference in perspective maybe. But there's really the key for when you have 2 characters that fight each other, and this is something that Stan Lee once said, is that like the writer will always decide who wins. It doesn't matter how many like breakdowns you do of the meta, and like you can create a giant list of, well, technically this is the reason the character. You can run the fight in Mugen 7,000 times all you want, and you can adjust the power scales and all that. You can just look through all the data. At the end of the day, like if the writer wants one character to win, that character's going to win. That's just how this works. Like the conceit of it is just like the writer will choose. You know, if the writer has the Hulk fight Stan Lee or something, you know, if Stan Lee self-inserts himself into the story and the Hulk comes at him, he could just throw a banana peel at him and then he could fall down a sewer grid or whatever, and then he just wins. Like that's how this works. Like, you know, there's no rules. So like anything like, you know, Death Battle is just such a superfluous pile of bollocks because like, yeah, in the end of the day, the writer chooses, and a show like that tends to like pretend that they're not choosing who wins, but they are choosing who wins. You should never ask me for advice when it comes to focus. Yeah, the writer is always the winner. Have I thought about art streams? I've done art streams in the past, but the key again is because of my wrist. I don't like to do like casual ones as much anymore because I'm trying to make sure I don't fuck my wrist up. In the future, I might be doing some art streams like long term because I have a lot of things to draw, so I might do them on stream. But sometimes it can be quite tiring to be on stream because like, you know, I'm just trying to grill. You know, I'm just trying to draw. So like sometimes streaming that can be a little bit like energy consuming. But I probably will do a couple art streams for all the things I need to draw for 4C month. I could see me just doing it, just like putting some music on the background and just doing it. Yeah. In terms of gaming, because of my wrist, that's a no-go. And I've tried it before, but like I think gaming and streaming at the same time is actually really fucking hard. Credits to people who can do it, but like being able to talk and entertain while also trying to play a game is a skill I'm not very good at. And yeah, Ray, yeah, this is technically my job, yeah. Mr. Meteor, in terms of like anime licensing, I don't know if it's really, I don't really, it's not really about feeling to me, but that's just the reality of the industry, right? That licensing animes is what usually funds most of them nowadays, especially like with streaming rights. I don't really feel one way or the other about them, but like, you know, if you want things to be seen by people, licensing tends to be the way of doing that. The easiest way to get that to people, even in terms of like secondarily, you know, if you want to get to the high C's and get the best quality, you probably need someone to like actually do the work to get at that quality first, to do the transfers and the to create the files in the first place that people can then use for those sort of things. I like buying media usually for videos, mainly because, you know, that's how you get a lot of special features which aren't very easy to find online unless they've been ripped, which doesn't always happen. But yeah, like I don't really feel strongly either way about it. It's just the nature of the industry. God, there's a lot of questions about my shirt today, isn't there? I got it. It's a bootleg shirt from Redbubble. I'm pretty sure. It was a funny image. Um, Apparently, there's characters from a show or something. But it was a funny image. It has funny words on it. I bought it. That's all. Um, it's not official, so I'm not going to recommend where to get it from. It's a bootleg. Oh, this thing's flashing. Wait a minute, let me just get it on a strict color. There you go. There you go. That will do. God, where were we? Yeah, the writer is God, ineffectively. Stanley versus Hulk in Avengers 6, maybe. Who knows? I mean, yeah, all social media is kind of like not great, to be fair. Um, which is why I'm not exactly the most active on it. I'm just not really about that world. I like to spend time with my family, I guess, or like the people I care about over like talking to strangers on the internet as much. Which I guess is ironic to say since I'm doing this now, but like this is part of the game, right? I like to stream every week because that's kind of the conceit of what I do. You know, it's like I like speaking to the community, giving people updates, and just sort of doing the game. It's just like one more part of what I do as a YouTuber. But you know, it's one day a week or 2 days. Like it's Twitter is like some people spend the whole day on Twitter. I don't know. I can't do that. Do I think I'll do more music? I've already said this, Penguin. I said this earlier. It's unlikely I'll do like a lot of more music-based videos because they are wild card videos, and like only sometimes do they perform. Because they're very dangerous. Honestly, because Japanese music, in terms of niches, like anime is already a niche, but Japanese music is like a even like bigger niche than the anime itself. So like when I make a video about them, and I've done a fair few in the past, like usually just like no one watches them. That's just how it goes. I have a couple that performed very well, and I got very lucky. Like I had 2 in a row that performed really well, and I got really lucky that period. And I had the Nujabes one, which had obviously he had a very dedicated following, and that one performed pretty good as well. And then recently, after the fact, the hijacking video did perform, but only after something happened with another YouTuber making a video on the same topic. So that was just like dumb luck, but that one actually eventually did get any views. But yeah, it's just too risky. So like if I do it, it's for stuff that I'm very passionate about, which is what we were talking about earlier with our YMO. In terms of the rotoscoping videos, some of them are hand painted. Yeah, it depends how old we're talking. How did I learn to make them? Right? I don't know. You just do it. Like I don't really know what I can tell you. Like I started making videos when I was like 14, just like casually, like with Windows Movie Maker. Like it's not something I was formally trained in. You just learn by doing. My mouse is being funny today. Reaction streams? I don't know what you mean by reaction streams. Reacting to what would be the key. I have been thinking about doing something today, and I guess I can ask the chat, but it didn't really come up as a topic, but it has in the past. I had this idea for doing, and I might even clip it, and put it on that non-existent second channel of mine. But I've always wanted to do this video like idea just on stream, where I look through. I have a bone to pick with like TV tropes in general, and I think it's a little bit too easy. It's low hanging fruit, but I think someone had mentioned it in a prior stream at some point. But like, yeah, I have a bone to pick with TV tropes as like a concept, and I had like the ultimate idea of how to do it, and it was to look through the TV tropes page for Dinner with Andre. And if most of you don't know, Dinner with Andre is like it's kind of like a small budget like art film. I think it was publicly funded or something, by 2 particular fellows who were in the movie. And it was once called by Roger Ebert the one film he'd seen without any tropes in like the traditional sense, and he said it in the 80s, so it was a very different landscape. But like seeing the TV tropes, seeing that contrasted with like how that was interpreted in the 80s and how it is interpreted with a website that only exists to document 1,000 new tropes a day, I think is an interesting dynamic. And just like, I remember looking at it once and just laughing and being just like, what the fuck is this page? Just like going through what they defined were tropes. Because I think inherently I'm already against the idea of documenting tropes anyway, because I think that execution is everything and tropes are just like a part of like the storytelling foundations. Like in a lot of times what they consider tropes are very like arbitrary to begin with. Born to Die aesthetic is great. Yeah, I like a Born to Die shirt as well. I think the Born to Hug one's quite nice. Kame-san, I think it's a bit of a false question about 2D mecha. Because the thing about 2D mecha, the reason you don't tend to see it as much is because the people who would be qualified to do it aren't there. Usually it's about production. You need to have very specifically talented people to draw like articulate robots, and those people, a lot of them retired because the people who were qualified to doing it did it in the 80s and they're like old now. And then in other situations, it's a case that like they don't get paid enough to do the work, so they'll work somewhere else in a different industry, because they won't get paid enough in the anime industry. which means that you'll mainly only see them in like movie productions because they would be pretty high. They're very intensive, high industry people. Oshii once talked about this, about making movies, and that like he said this during a period where he was only making live action movies, that literally the people that he would need to make movies the way he wants to just don't exist in the industry in the same way as they used to. And like because there's such a drain on talent in the anime industry and they're so busy, it's just really hard to get people to make that kind of content, which is usually why it goes to CGI, because there just isn't the 2D people to do it. And now with things like Blender, I don't even think that's a huge problem, because with something like Blender, you can kind of merge the worlds of 2D and 3D for robots, and I think that would generally be the way forward, is using Blender's ability to composite between those two factors to create mechas. I think that will be the future of it. I feel like you could do a really good job mixing the two worlds using like the grease pencil or something. I mean, England does. I mean, Mr. Meter, I think it's important to realize that like England has the biggest licensing in Europe in terms of titles per year. So like while we probably don't get the same amount as America, which can be frustrating for a myriad of reasons, in terms of where we are within Europe, we still have the largest output of licensed titles of anime that come out every year, especially with all the anime and Anime UK, Manga UK, and a couple other people working there. So yeah, I mean, and again, streaming has kind of become a bigger thing, so there's that too. And but yeah, I mean, it depends if we're talking physical or streaming, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Japanese jazz sounds clean. I think that's just the style choice. I wouldn't be able to. If I could talk to like Japanese jazz musicians right now, I could give you a better idea because I'm not one of them. But I do think it's kind of just a style thing that has happened. That's just the aesthetic of production. But yeah, you probably want to talk to some actual Japanese jazz musicians if you want a real answer for that, not someone who just talks about it sometimes. Reaction streams is like reacting to things recommended by audience and channel. Well, the issue sometimes I have with that is usually like around copyrighted materials. I used to do like a reaction series on the second channel for a little bit. I just ran out of time doing it. It was like a Patreon thing, but like I didn't get too many responses. Um, I don't know. I know some people like to do that in streams. I'm not really huge on it. To be honest, the last time there's one particular reason I wanted to go against it, because I tried to do something like that a while ago and my internet just gave out, and I think it was because my internet was failing during the time, but it's made me very paranoid about like trying to watch a video and stream at the same time, just in case like my internet does die again for a stupid reason. Um, that, I don't know, that might be too much for it. I'm not sure where like it's the throttle line is. But yeah, I don't know. If someone like super chatted me a video, I'd probably watch it. Um, yeah, like I said, would I do a video on Wings of Mars? Probably not. I don't know. I might be talking about it in the Arno video. I don't know if I'd do a video separately on it or not. Yeah, someone said mentioning about like Gundam Hathaway. I'm not sure with Hathaway. Do the mechs in Hathaway, are they completely 3D in Hathaway? I know the cars are. I'm not sure about the mechs though. I'm guessing I'd leave it to the audience to tell me what the situation is there. But obviously, like Sunrise has quite a pretty robust audience of people to do that for them. Like Sunrise holds a lot of like very high talented people to draw articulate stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're moving closer and closer to doing like more 3D 2D mixes, just because it's easier for them. And yeah, and I think a lot of it is compositing at the end of the day. There's definitely like something quite interesting about 2D mechs, but I understand it's a very difficult thing to pull off as an artist, especially on the time periods and money that like they're working on. So like yeah, it's not always going to be the ideal solution. Some of them are like really complicated to draw. I mean, they don't make it easy for you. It'd be one thing if you were drawing like, you know, gold, just like a robot from the 60s or whatever, like Gigantor or something. But nowadays, God are fucking mighty, like so many little bits and pieces. I don't know what you mean by Lavante. I don't know. The failure of Netflix's hand. What is Sol Levante? I don't know what that is. I mean, all like a majority of the industry of anime is hand drawn. Is this even an hand drawn? And what does mainstream even mean in that context? I don't know what you're talking about at all. I mean, I've tested my internet speeds, Profound War. It doesn't matter though. Like my internet speed doesn't matter. It depends on like my Wi-Fi stick and just like if my internet randomly gives out. That's the problem. I don't know how badly it's being throttled. That's my concern when it happened, and I think now that's not a problem. But sometimes my internet does just like randomly give out. So yeah, I don't want to like sometimes you don't want to like rock the boat. Gustavo says that the mechs in Hathaway were 3D, and then I'm getting someone saying they were both 3D and 2D. The Night Battle had a lot of 2D mechs. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends what they're doing too. Like, it might be a situation where, like, shot for shot, they choose which is the best way of approaching it. Like, if there's a lot of, like, 3D movement or camera movement, I could totally see them using 3D for it because it would just be so much, like, a better decision. Like, if you want to have a free moving camera, having a 3D object is so much easier to do that with. So I could totally see that for a thing. Although, like, if it's more of a static shot, I could totally see 2D being the easier thing to use for it. I haven't seen the behind the scenes on Hathaway, but I mean, yeah, good thing for is it Momose? Who's the director on Halfway? Was it Momose? He's the guy behind like Ergo Proxy and what was that thing he did with the Project Ito? Also, he worked on Gundam way earlier in his career. Interesting fellow. I mean, Meteorite, I think this is like, it's more of a you problem, right? Like, of course, there wasn't any adult animation on television back then. There was someone like CNX for a time in England, but like England kind of just gave up on anime as like a TV thing, and that's just how it goes. There was an anime channel for a small period of time, but they made that decision. The TV stations made that decisions, and they lost out to streaming and pirating, and that was just how it is. Nothing you can do about it now. TV is dead. Murase, Shuko. I don't know if we got much to say. I'm afraid, Jacob, I don't know if there's actually much to say about Ergo Proxy, but I was just saying that the director of Ergo Proxy worked on Hathaway, because we were mentioning Hathaway. Yeah, I think he's a good director. I think he's interesting. I'm glad that Hathaway's done so well for him, because I think it's his first hit in his career. Yeah, and I believe he did some of the opening shots or the opening scene in one of the earlier Gundams from the 90s. I forget which one it was. F91 maybe? One of the sort of like more strange ones. But yeah, in terms of compositing, and this is, I'll probably bring this up now. Why not? a lot of the game of animation is really a compositing game, and nowadays there's a lot more like assets of CGI. But like this goes back a long way. Like if we go back to 2006, and this is something I watched it the other day. I think how do you pronounce it? Like Tekkon Kin Street. Tekkon Kin Street is probably the first anime directed by an American director, Matthew. Was it Matthew? Michael. I think it's Michael Arias, or Michael Ayers, I believe it is. But he has a background in special effects, and the whole movie has like a lot of like, it's very effects driven, but a lot of it is made in such a way where it's all composited into the 2D world in a way that fits for the most part. I mean, it's still 2006, so there's still like limits for how much they can do at that time. I think some stuff, some of the CGI shows its age a little bit because of when it was made, but overall, there's a lot of computer generated stuff in the shots, and they tend to really match the world because there's a lot of texture mapping. They do a lot of hand drawing stuff and turning them into like shapes, basically like projecting onto these things, and they work with a lot of that with all the vehicles, and they do it for a lot of the camera shots. They like paste all the 2D stuff onto the camera, onto the 3D shaped alleyways, and there's a lot of interesting ways of doing that. A lot of it's in the background, but it's very key for a lot of things when you're doing that sort of stuff, and a lot of that is just like nature of the game now, because if you want to do, oh hello cat, if you want to do moving shots, and if you want the camera to be flowing around, really it has to be in a 3D like area, or you'd need someone who's like a master of like animating perspective, and that's just not realistic most of the time. You going, cat? But yeah, like Tekken Kin Street is it's a very paramount picture in terms of just showing like the ability to match those two worlds together with every shot, where like pretty much every shot in Tekken Kin Street has some kind of CG elements just like meshed into its world to get the point across they're trying to do, and then sometimes in ways that you won't necessarily notice, but it's just the nature of like designing the world they were. Like there are parts where in the clock tower, so like all the cogs are 3D, or there'll be parts where they've like they've created these, and nowadays you can do it in After Effects. I don't know if you could have back then, but like there's a lot of 2D in After Effects. You can turn 2D layers into 3D shapes, and you can use that to like affect how they are within the shot, to create like a pop-up effect. So there's a lot of that kind of technique there, but yeah, like it's a lot of factors when it comes to 2D, 3D mesh. The fact that they're both tools, and this is something that what I find quite interesting about 4C, is that they've spent their entire career as a studio from 95 onwards using those tools and just talking about it as like, well, it's a tool, and they had a dedicated CG department from the beginning, and they've used it to do like, they're very expertise at a certain kind of shot they're very good at, which is usually sort of like hallway shots in 3D, and sometimes these sort of more like pop-up shots, moving of cameras and such, and some stuff with like vehicles and other bits and pieces. There's definitely things that they're very good at. Sometimes it's like zoom out shots. They're very good at like doing these sort of 3D composite zoom out shots. Or there's a shot in like Mind Game where they go to the first person with the gun, and they go from the barrel and shoot all the way down into it. Stuff like that, or like moving the camera around in a 2D space in like a very fluent way, what you'd only usually be able to do if you were like doing it in like live action, stuff like that. Mm. Uh, British and Japanese media have never interacted. I mean, they have pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of British bands in anime, if you haven't noticed. Like a lot of openings and endings in anime tended, especially for a period in the mid 2000s, there was a lot of like that happening. If that would be even like the opening for Lane is a British band. The opening of, is it Speed Gracer, is like Girls on Film. The ending for what was it? Ergo Proxy's ending is Radiohead. Obviously, JoJo has Yes, and yeah, there's Franz Ferdinand. I forget what show had Franz Ferdinand, but someone had Franz Ferdinand in its ending. Like there's definitely mixings of worlds there, and there's probably some stuff beyond that. But yeah, I mean, international play is like a big thing. I have a friend from college who's one of their family members animated on Ponyo. They were British, so yeah, I mean it happens. Also, technically, Britain, especially Manga UK, funded Ghost in the Shell '95, so like that film wouldn't have happened without Manga UK. It was funded specifically for like rentals and videos from the success of Akira. So that's a pretty big impact when you think about it. Moat Bag, what are you saying about 4C? 4C has been doing some really cool CG compositing for a long time. Yeah, the oldest thing I know they've done is Noiseman. No, they've done before that. You should check up Extra by Ken Ishii. That's from 1995. That's probably one of the earliest pieces they did using CGI and compositing work and texture mapping. Yeah, so it's a music video by Morimoto, Koji Morimoto. It has a lot of the core staff members who continued working on the projects as they went. And yeah, Extra, Kenichi, very cool music video, but yeah, there's definitely some CG compositing in it, especially when it comes to the backgrounds, where like they've taken drawings and they've applied them onto texture maps of a 3D space. And it looks pretty good for the time. I think it still looks pretty solid. And some of that stuff then followed through on Memories. You can see a shot like that in the third short from Memories. And these techniques generally considered, like they generally just followed them through their whole career. I would say Tekkon Kinstry is so far the one which has done the most for it, but I'm only up to 2009. Mind Games also has some really effective cuts in it. I think Arrietty had some really good cuts using, even they were sparse, when they were used they looked pretty good and effective and they felt very part of the world. But yeah, generally you can say that for most of them, but like they just seem to increase over time as they get better. Now I think the problem that might be interesting to look at is when we get to the Berserk movies, because the Berserk movies were critiqued when they came out, especially for like their dodgy CGI. And I'm wondering how that compares to what they've done before and why that is. And I have some like hypotheses of why that is. And I think it has to do with like when you put CGI in the front of the frame and do a kind that you're not used to doing. Which is like a different game entirely. Because it's one thing to animate like objects in the background of shots, and it's another thing to like transfer your characters from 2D to 3D in the front of a shot. That's a different complete set of skills. Um, I mean, Mr. Meter, the obvious fact is that like the English staff of Cartoon Network, whoever it was, whoever was controlling these companies, if it be Sky or whoever it would be, decided that they were not interested in bringing Toonami back to England. That would have just been it. Probably because they didn't think it had the ratings, or they just didn't expect it to have the same following as it did in America. I think that's really just the blunt of it. And that's just how it was. In terms of English dubs, I think they serve an important purpose, but I'm like not the biggest like connoisseur of them. It really depends. Sometimes I will, if I'm making notes on a film, I sometimes will watch it in English because it's easier for me to make notes during that. Though, like, it does depend on where I feel about the quality of them. Like, say for example, like talking about Tekkon Kinstry again, that film was written in English. originally. So like it was the original screenplay was in English and it had to be transferred to Japanese. And then there was a huge discrepancy between that because transferring, a script from one language to another is actually quite difficult to do, and then keep the flavor keeping the flavor of it at the same. And that was a real struggle during the production because they were treating both of them, I guess, as priority. So like technically the English dub in Attack on Kin Street could be considered the original version, maybe, but like hard to say. I don't know if it was the original produced. The script was at least written in English first. I don't know if the dub was actually produced at the same time as the Japanese though. Probably not. So I'm not. So I'm not really sure what you're saying here. American, British, French nationality is to animate in Western rather than. You have to rewrite that. That makes no sense. CG. All right, someone's asking about. It's really hard to explain CG compositing to someone in the chat, but I would say it's like, how would I put it? Compositing is a game of like sticking things to. All right, say for example, if you had a piece of paper, and you had some glue and you kept sticking things to the picture, the piece of paper. That's kind of what compositing is that you take different things these different elements and you stick them onto the picture and you have to make them all mesh together. That's what compositing is. And when we're talking about CG compositing, it's about putting that CGI into that frame and making it feel like it exists within that world. Oh, the cat's screaming. You coming in, cat? Come on. Why do I think there's such talent in conveying movement in Japanese? There's plenty of. Come on, come in then. There's talent for people conveying movement in all different situations, not just Japanese, and a lot of the people who animate for Japanese stuff aren't necessarily Japanese these days. I don't know, I feel like what you're asking is a little bit complicated for just a stream, but a lot of it, in terms of how animation moves in Japan, will be defined by very prolific and talented people within different eras who defined the styles of technique that people use. People like Canada and stuff like that, or you could probably argue maybe like Miyazaki too, depending on what we're talking about, or like people that Miyazaki worked with, like Otsuka, people like that, or like Mori, Yasuji Mori. Just usually like there'll be an influence, or if we're talking like Dasaki, like people who popularized certain sort of movements and techniques that were made because of the nature of the medium and like the production and the sort of like the limitations they were working within, and then having to find ways of making something effective within them. That's how those industries are defined. There's a lot of factors about why these things are the way they are. Ding Dong, nice name. I'm glad you enjoyed the work. Actually, speaking of which, everyone, have you heard? I was told earlier today, apparently they announced today that the Dream Machine will be finished in 2024. Satoshi Kon's final film will finally get an ending. However, I do not know if this is a version of the film that still retains the images from the original or not. Because last time, what was it? Moriyama. Is it Moriyama? Yeah, Moriyama. Last time the producer was talking about it, Masao Moriyama. he mentioned something about like he thought the best idea would just to be like to start from blank, to take the idea of the movie and then give it to a young talented director and then make something new with it, opposed to trying to finish a film with a creator that no longer exists. That was the last thing he said a couple years ago. I don't know if that's the position they still hold or not, but whatever's happening with the production, apparently it will be finished in a couple years' time. Yeah, alright, Paradise Kiss has Franz Ferdinand. Madhouse. Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously hand drawing stuff is always time consuming. That's just the nature of the game. And the market, I don't know if I'd say it's well, yeah, the market does decide, but it's usually that just because of how, there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors that are like really stressful. I mean, you know, low wages, ridiculous hours of pay, not even getting paid the wages that you're expected to because you're not getting paid for your overtime sometimes. People do you in that way. Having all your animators like effectively leave the industry within 3 years because it's just too much. And then having your best animators not want to work in that industry because they don't get paid enough, so they get paid more doing music videos and video games and other different productions. Of course, there's a huge amount of drain. And you know, when you need the most precise people to do certain kind of shots, they may not be available because they're doing something else, and that's when you need to find other ways of filling in the blanks, which tends to involve finding different techniques. Yeah, Meteor, that's how it goes. Everything is about money. That's the world we live in. Yeah, Extras is good. Check out Extra. That's a good music video. Yeah, the cat, the cat being the cat, you know. She's in frame though. Yeah. Um. What do I think the industry should do? The anime industry? I don't think the anime industry can save itself. I think it's a burning bridge at this point. I think it's probably going to collapse. Because I don't think the industry will do what it needs to do to survive. Um, which is, you know, stop making weekly anime, protect their staff members from killing themselves, from overwork, paying them more, giving them somewhere to stay, you know, protecting the people who make the productions, and stop making as many as they are. Those are probably the factors I would say that would be the way to move forward, and that those are things are not going to happen. So I don't have much trust that the industry will be healthy in the foreseeable future. It already isn't. Um, Kami-san, this is kind of a false question here because, yeah, you could totally use modern technologies and make it look like late 80s and 90s aesthetics. It's not very hard. The question is, why would you do that? That's really the question. It's like, Japanese producers aren't interested in doing that. The only time they tend to be interested in doing that is when they're trying to make fanfare for Americans. Westerners get hired in the anime industry quite a lot, usually off Twitter, Stello, usually as freelancers. the myth that it's a strictly Japanese industry now is just not the case anymore since the digital floodgates opened, and a lot of studios tend to have people from all over the world working at them. So that's just the case. Yeah, apparently Dream Machine's coming out in 2024. That's what I was told. Um, well, all right. See, the thing is, Motorbag, like the idea, like yeah, Kadakawa doesn't actually want to make less anime, but like the idea of making less anime saving the industry is probably not possible because back in 1982, there was like 44 anime that came out, and the industry was still saying that was too many. Like at the time, at the size of the industry during the 80s was just like, yeah, we're making too much. That's always been the case, but like it's just there's always been too much being made for like the workforce. That's how they felt for like the longest time. That's like 40 years ago. They were still saying that. So I don't really feel like making 10 less anime a year is going to make a huge difference. In the end of the day, you need to completely change the structure. Nothing like that, like something like that's just a band-aid in the end of the day. What will happen at the anime industry after this collapse? I mean, it depends how blunt it is, but who knows? I haven't got a clue. Maybe there will be new forms of animation that come out that find new ways of getting it out to people that isn't through the system that collapsed. Maybe the structure changes completely. Maybe people start making stuff online, which is much shorter and much more sparsely comes out. It's impossible to say. Maybe things just come out strictly through giant conglomerates like streaming services because they're the only people who can fund animation anymore. Who knows? I just don't see the system as it is to ever being able to survive because it's a complete mess. I don't really have much of opinions about Hanna Barbera to be honest. Um, retro anime artist. I'm not sure if you could necessarily quantify this idea of motion in your head. I'm not really sure. I mean, there's certainly different ways of approaching it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really. I feel like the comparison is something that you'd need to have some sort of history book in front of you to really like quantify. Oh, thank you very much, Vivi. That's a very I don't plan to. I have no interest in judging, but I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed the video. That's all I'm gonna say. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos. I have more on Ghibli if you want to look into them. Well, all right. Here's the issue, Kami-san, with what you're saying about like retro looks look amazing. I mean, I like the retro style. I mean, I like some retro styles for sure. I have my preferences, but like that's an opinion that's not really held within the industry, unless they're trying to sell to Americans. That's really the blunt of it. Like, unless they're trying to sell it to a very specific audience, the industry is more happy to draw things the way they look now because they see that as appealing to the market that exists right now. Making something that looks old, I think they're afraid would then turn off new viewers. Probably that would be my guess. So like, unless they want to do that, and usually a series that will do that will be one that wants it to look like something that already exists or as part of that franchise. But like, yeah, it's not like impossible to use that style and create those effects. I mean, some companies already talk about it, right? I know like a big deal was made out of Megalobox because Megalobox from Telecom and TMC, they were making big deals about how they were using specific like they were creating their backgrounds at a specific ratio, so that they only had a certain amount of pixels, and they created like a filter on their like their artwork to make it feel more great. Like sorry, not the artwork, the line work to make it feel more grainy. Because a lot of the times digitally you vectorize the line work, and that creates a very thin, clean line, and that's not what you get out from like a pencil, or like a very hard pencil, or like an ink that used to be done on cells. And also you can see it in like Dragon Ball Super, and I guess you could say a newer One Piece, where they use techniques like they vectorize the line work and then use a program that like changes the depth and thickness of the lines at different places to kind of give them more depth. And they have like watercolor sort of overlays, and they work with like trying to vary the line shift and using different layers of compositing that they have going to try and make it all feel a certain way. There's a certain feeling that comes with that kind of work. But yeah, it's possible to do. It's just I just don't think that the industry is interested in it as a whole. So that's why it doesn't happen, unless they're trying to appeal it to a very specific audience. I mean, I'm not like Nostradamus, Meteor. I'm not going to be able to tell you the exact period it dies. I think it will be a slow whimper, if anything. No, I would never direct an anime, I don't think, because I think that would kill me. I can't work that. I don't think it would be healthy for me to try and work the kind of hours that you need to make an anime. I mean, especially seeing the behind the scenes from Michael Arias on Tekken King Street. Living in a studio basically never leaving a studio for a whole year, like living next to your computer, and like a lot of people working there, like only getting 3 hours of sleep a night. Some of them are like damaged, like internally damaged their like wrists, for like tendinitis and stuff like that because of the amount of stuff they had to work on. It's not really a healthy way of making something. Old anime style get into the pachinko graveyard. I mean, yeah, probably because people in the pachinko graveyard are like much older. Oh, we're moving on. Yeah, I'm doing alright, kid. How's it going from Russia? Hopefully with love. I mean, Solo, like the obvious reason that Megalobox didn't use real boxing is because that's what Ashton Joe did. I mean, I don't know. This seems really obvious to me. Like Megalobox is supposed to be like a reinterpretation of Ashton Joe, and like they probably want to like separate themselves away from Joe's kind of boxing stuff and animation, as to see not like a direct comparison. So I think they tried to do something different with the concept. That would be what I would see. Maybe because they want to move away from like Hajime no Ippo and Ashton no Joe direct comparisons in that way. Which I think is probably a fair idea if you want to do like a reimagining of one of the most popular and critically acclaimed series from Japan. If you want to really change it up, it's probably best to adapt the concepts inherently. If it's silly or not, I feel like that's just kind of like part of the setting, I guess. It's just the nature of it. No, I didn't. To be honest, I haven't watched much of Megalobox in either one. I'm more of a Joe guy. I haven't really had the time to sit down. I mean, it seems fine. I think the music sounds good, and I appreciate what they're trying to do. But yeah, I haven't really had time to watch it. Hajime no Ippo animation project in the works. Is that? Has anyone got a link to that? Like as a follow up to the Madhouse series? Because I mean, the only reason the Madhouse series got made is because of Maruyama or Maruyama. Maruyama worked on Ashinojo 1, and he convinced the author of the mangaka of he convinced the mangaka of Hajime no Ippo, because he worked on the original Joe. He convinced him that Madhouse could handle Hajime no Ippo, and when he left, he brought it to Mappa, and then they co-animated it with Madhouse. And then when he left Mappa, we've never seen any more Hajime no Ippo since. So I don't know, like as an animation project, I'm kind of curious like what that would mean, as like, because Murayama wouldn't be working on it, so I'm like, what would they be? Who's doing it? What is it? Is it like a reboot? Are they continuing the adaptation? I don't know. The author said it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm always happy to see more of it adapted, I guess, but I'm not really interested in like a reboot or anything like that. I've kind of gave up. Well, I mean, I gave up years ago seeing any more of it like turn to animation. So I made my peace with that a long time ago. Right. My drink is over. What time is it now? 10 past 8. Alright. I need to get some dinner in a bit, but we can probably still go for a little while. Right. I guess I kind of went off topic on that one, because I was going to do the Dinner with Andre TV tropes, but I don't know if the time has gone for it. I'd like to do it at some point. I'm trying to think if there's like some other version of that like I could do, but I can't think of a good like alternative. It's just it's a very niche idea, but who knows. Kami-san, yeah, I own Steam Boy, though I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing, but I have it. The thing is, I've been meaning to like sit down and watch it when I talk about Otomo's career, and that will be a little while away yet. I was gonna wait for his new movie to like be closer on the horizon, or like the Akira show, before I start talking about Otomo. But I have, yeah, I mean, Maruyama-san is literally the GOAT. Like, there is probably no producer I think has done like more for the anime industry than him. And you can just see people talk about Maruyama-san in like great reverence, especially people like Yuasa. I was reading an interview with him recently, and he was just talking about how like the reason he got to make TV shows in the first place is that off of Mind Games. Mind Games was this insane thing that 4C made, right? I have no idea how Mind Games ever got funded to begin with, and that it got to be what it was, but I guess it was just a lightning in the bottle situation. And Yuasa came out the gate so like insane and like potential energy and like veracity. Satoshi Kon once said in an interview, he was like, I watched Mind Game and I thought it was fantastic. And this is a man, especially after doing the video on Kon. Kon didn't like watching animation. He really was like, I'm not really a fan. I don't really watch animation because I work on it all day, and like it's stressful for me to watch someone else's production, because I start thinking about what I would do in that instance, and I see the like. I see like the in between flaws and stuff, because I'm in that mode, so I don't like watching animated films. So for him to give like Mind Games such a glowing review to me was like, whoa, that's really out there for him. And from there, I wonder if Moriyama and Kon watched it together, because Moriyama then phoned up Yuasa on the phone, and he was like, hey, do you want to work at Madhouse? Do you want to make a show at Madhouse? And Yuasa was kind of a little bit cold to the idea at first. He was basically saying like, I don't know about that. And like Murayama was like, what about this? And Yuasa was like, no. And then Murayama was like, okay, what about this? And Yuasa was like, I'm not already feeling that idea. And Yuasa, eventually the conversation went where Murayama was like, okay, just make a show, create a show, create an idea, an original IP, and we'll make it. And that's where it went. And then he made 3 shows. I think it was 3 shows at Madhouse until Murayama left. And then what happened when he left? Yuasa left. So yeah, that's the story of how Yuasa basically got his career in TV anime. It was all Murayama, basically. I would say it's on his... And I'll give it to 4C too. Like, 4C put Yuasa in a pretty, like, indie darling spot. Though Mind Game was not a successful film. Like, commercially, it was not, like, a huge success or anything. Though it was a pretty cheap. It was made on the pretty cheap, so... What are you going to do? But yeah, that Murayama then put him in the position to make shows like Kaiba and what does he make at Madhouse? That show, I don't know, I can't remember the name of it, but really scrappy looking show from 2006. I can't remember the name of it though. But yeah, like he made a couple shows with Madhouse before going off and making like Atomic Galaxy and Ping Pong and all these other bits and pieces, you know, working with Adventure Time and creating his own studio. Like, it all kind of begins at that point where he becomes a man of TV anime. And of course, he did some stuff with Watanabe as well, because he met Watanabe while making Mind Game, and then when he met Watanabe wanted him to work on and doing like cuts on his productions and eventually become a director on some episodes, etc. Uh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to, I feel like Solo that the issue with it kind of reminds me of. Did you ever see that film with Hugh Jackman, which was like, what's it called? Like, it was like the robot thing where like they were in the future and there was like you were like you did the moves and then you had like a robot on top of you, and it did the moves and you did it in like a boxing ring, and you were effectively like like you would just like you used robots to punch, but it was you punching. I forget the name of the movie, but Hugh Jackman was in it, and obviously the conceit of that would be like, well, why don't they just punch each other? Why do they need to use giant robots? And a lot of it's just about the flair of it. I believe it's just flair. Like it's a more like novel experience, I guess, for a future setting. Yeah, I mean, Steam Boy is like a technical marvel, and I believe 4C was originally going to be making Steam Boy. I've heard this in passing. I don't know what I'd have to check my DVD or my Blu-ray for like the behind the scenes talk, but I don't believe 4C actually dedicated it. They might have done some co-animation on it. I feel like they might have worked with the CG department, but originally 4C was planning on doing Steam Boy, but Steam Boy was in production for like 10 years, like from like 94, give or take, all the way to 2004. Like there was like on and off production for that, like as an idea for a really long time before it was settled down at I think it was Sunrise who made it. I have a feeling it was Sunrise. Kumo no Sume. That's the one. Grove Street Baller. I see we've hit the San Andreas era. I hate editing manga panels, so probably not. Yeah, I mean, I think M2 is a very potential studio. I hope they actually get some work out. But it seems like Murayama is dedicated to just finishing really good pieces of work, and we probably don't see them until they're done, which is probably a good thing, really, because it means that they're not rushed. Because I believe that Pluto that he was working on is being co-animated in France, because again, not enough Japanese animators. So like there's probably, and it's probably going to be like an ONA, I'm guessing, in that like it will probably all be animated first, then released. Real Still, there you go. Yeah, Real Still. Yeah, it's the conceit of Real Still is that, yeah, it totally could be just a normal boxing film, but robots. Yeah, I don't think 20th Century Boys would be made at Madhouse, because Madhouse is, even if there's still some potential at Madhouse, it's still a bit of a husk. Like all the people that used to work there don't anymore. So I don't think Murayama's going to be working with Madhouse anytime soon again. That tie seems pretty dead. I mean, I didn't watch Squid Games, Connor, but I'm pretty sure the author of Squid Games has talked about how much of a fan they were of Kaiji, which seems pretty obvious, I'm imagining, from like the setup alone. I know that Murayama must be working. I'm assuming Murayama must be working on um, the finishing the Con project. That definitely is something. So I'm guessing M2 is going to be doing that, and then they're also doing Pluto, and maybe they have another project on hand, but I don't know about. I don't know if 20th Century Boys is quite long, so I don't know if it'll ever get like a proper anime adaptation, but maybe. And it's quite popular, isn't it? It used to be very popular on Mal back in the day when I was like a baby boy. It used to be a very popular manga. But I don't know if I can talk about like numbers sold. Hmm. Um. Wait. So someone mentioned a second ago. So is there supposed to be a new? Is Urasawa supposed to be announcing a new anime or something? Is it with Murayama or is it just a new anime somewhere? What's the deal with that? I mean, the case sometimes the case with it is like, do you really want what you think you want? Like you've got the manga, right? But sometimes it's maybe best not to think about an adaptation for a myriad of reasons, just because doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a good one, right? Um, I mean, Kami-san, that's gonna be a lot of money. You're talking about a lot of money, and the problem also being like, it's not just money. It's people. Like, who's making it? Where are you getting these animators from? Where are they from? What's the schedule? What's the production? What house? What's your compositing? Where's it going to be shown? Like, those factors probably matter more necessarily than money. Infrastructure. I mean, to be fair, French animators are very good, so like I don't really worry too much about like them being good or not. I imagine they'll do a great job. Um, because yeah, France has a huge history of like watching anime pretty early on in Europe, like from the late 70s onwards. Like anime was a staple of French television, so a lot of animators who are now like fully grown grew up on anime. They're pretty well acquainted with the style. Yeah, to be honest, I don't think the last saute, the Porco Rosso thing will ever come out. I think it was kind of just like an idea that Miyazaki once said, and there was some miscommunication during it. And I've had to read this up for a bit because some people they don't quite. There was like a miscommunication that came with it where people had assumed Miyazaki was writing it and the young director was going to direct it, the one who left for Studio Ponok, and that was not the case. They were talking about the Boroughs, but they had I don't know if they'd announced Boroughs, but they were talking about Boroughs when that happened. Last Sortie was going to be a film that Miyazaki would direct and write, but it was kind of like a back burner thing. One of those like what if situations, but probably one that could just wouldn't happen. And maybe for the better, just because I don't imagine The Last Sortie could ever end well. I mean, emotionally, it'd probably be fine, but it would just be a very... Set in the Spanish Civil War, there's no way that can end good. Um, I don't know, retro anime hobbyist. It depends what you define as a good adaptation, really. I think that the movie of Akira did its job perfectly well, which was not necessarily to recreate the manga, but to create an image that changed the world in some fashion towards the image of the manga. If you want to be like dramatic about it, but like, yeah. I think the movie did a really good job of like just superimposing the idea of what Akira is in the public consciousness, and probably led to selling a lot more manga units too. You know, by like 91, 92, somewhere in the middle of the 90s, it had sold like 5 million copies. It's a lot. It's a lot back then. God knows how much it's sold now. Kami-san, there's not enough money in the world to hire me. I don't know. It's not my position to do that. I have never experience of creating a anime. I would not put the pretense on me. I don't even know who would be. Because the bluntness of what I would probably say is that you shouldn't even make it in Japan. That's probably what I would have ended up telling you at the end. I'd be like, nah, you don't want to do this in Japan. There just isn't like the workers for it. Make it somewhere else. If you've got that kind of money, make it somewhere else. I don't care where, just France, to Korea, America, anywhere. Just do it online. I don't know, a team of animators who work from their bedrooms. Huh, Connor, I think you're speaking my language now. Dwayne The Rock Johnson Spirited Away 2 will definitely be a hit. Broccoli for dinner. That's quite a good name, Broccoli for dinner. But like the idea of Miyazaki retiring after the next movie is really just a case of if he dies or not. I mean, to be blunt, I feel the man will just work until he's dead. That's just the kind of person he is. And yeah, I'm always talking about Spy Kids 3. When am I not talking about Spy Kids 3? How would you even make a sequel to Spirited Away? How would you even do that? Would it have to be like one of those Disney things? It probably would be, wouldn't it? Like when Disney does like a soft reboot of something and it's like, it's 20 years later and it's like, do you remember the magic of what happened that one day many years ago? One of those things where it's like, I haven't thought about that day in such a long time. And then it's just like, remember this thing? Remember No Face? Remember the big scary witch person? of dragons bathhouses. Remember that stuff? And it's like, oh, it's all new to me. It's coming back. Oh, whoa. That would be the film. And then I guess Dwayne the Rock Johnson is also there now. I would prefer it if it was just Dwayne the Rock Johnson, not playing a character, but just himself. Just he's like in the world of Spirited Away 2. Just there, he exists. He just runs the bathhouse now. Family's the other guy. I don't think that's Dwayne's thing. I don't know. I just could imagine that there's like a classic zoom shot. I mean, I could see there be like a zoom through a door shot. You zoom through the bathhouse door, go through the alleyway, you knock through a door, and then in front of you is just eyebrow up animated Ghibli rock. Yeah, isn't it the other guy? The race stuff is the other one. Who's the family guy? What's his name? Not The Rock, the other one. Vin Diesel. You happy now, Cat? What does the Rock do? It's kind of like that thing. I can't really. I'm not bold, but doesn't he do that? I think I've seen one Bollywood film, Kami-san. I've seen parts of that Indian Terminator, but I've watched. I think it's called Three Idiots. That's the only Bollywood film I've watched in total. I mean, it would be very Japanese if the River Spirit came back and it wanted the same people to do the thing the last time, and they grabbed just out of nowhere. I mean, that would definitely be a very, because there's stories of that sort of thing happening when it comes to customer service. So I think it would be very funny if that was the context of it. It was just 20 years later. You just teleported back because it's like, well, this one client wanted you back, and it's like, oh, okay, now you're stuck in this world again. How do you leave? Did I like it? I mean, for Three Idiots? Yeah, I thought it was right. Though it's been a long time since I've seen it. Probably watched it when I was like 18 or something. So it's quite some time ago. I don't really remember too much about it besides it being quite long. And a lot of dance numbers, I guess, and there was like a very harsh tonal change at one point, which I think was kind of the point, but yeah, it was just very, very blunt moment. I don't know if it's considered very highly in the class of Bollywood or not, but yeah, I thought it was fine. I really need a drink. My throat's getting dry again. Yeah, 2.5, 3 hour long films is a little hard for me. I have a tendency to fall asleep during a film, and I sometimes struggle to be on a film that's that long. I've done it in the past, but yeah, it's a little exhausting to watch something that long. So that all that length is a little tiring for me. Right, my mind is going a blank for now for a second. I guess while I'm here, I don't know, it's been a couple of hours. I might as well just re-access a couple points. So yeah, in the pin tweet, the pinned message there, we have the latest video about Fantastic Planet, which was connected to the Norska video. If you haven't seen the Norska video, go see it. I still want that one to keep going. It's been doing pretty well. 65,000 views maybe. I hope it keeps continuing doing well, especially during December. That's when the next video should be coming out, December 1st. I don't think it will come out beforehand, but there will be plenty of them because it's 4C month. I'm trying to figure out how to turn, what was it called, The First Squadron? I just watched this film and I'm very confused. I think it's called The First Squadron. I believe it was written by Russians, but yeah, the first squad maybe would be the term. Very strange premise for a thing. I believe it was, yeah, it was written by 2 Russians, but it was animated in Japan by 4C. And also DJ Crush did the soundtrack, which was really weird. I didn't really notice a lot of his mannerisms, maybe a little bit, but yeah, that was an interesting choice. And it was only an hour long as well, give or take. I don't even know if it came out in Japan or not. Okay. So I'm on Wikipedia, so this is not a great source, but it says here, in 2007, it was announced that a motion picture, First Squad, The Moment of Truth, was in the works. The film was produced at 4C and recently created for the purpose of Studio Mollet Entertainment. I'm not sure what Mollet Entertainment is. To distribute it in Armedia in Norway. And it was directed by 4C director Yoshiharu Ashino. Not really familiar with them, I'm afraid. Even though I've been going through, I should probably see what else they worked on. Apparently they worked on Buzz Lightyear. Interesting. It must be maybe they're telecom. Looking at some of these credits. But they also did the direction and key animation for Justice League Flash. Oh god, I have to see another of their films, aren't I? Jesus Christ. I was not really blown away by their work, let's put it that way. But it looks like they've been around and they have definitely worked at Telecom or TMS. They've been around for sure. I'm trying to see if they worked on any other big films. And they were a key animator in the Highlander Search for Vengeance film, which is... Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't think they did any other directorial work at 4C, though. Outside of later on. Sorry, beforehand. Oh, okay. They also worked on Twinny Witches, of course. Oh god, they're the director of Twinny... Oh, okay. So they're they're the Twinny Witches director. I see. Oh, jeez. Okay. I'm not necessarily a fan of the show. But yeah, I could totally see if that's... Oh boy. Oh, and also the director of Thundercats, of course. They must be like the Western director for 4C, it seems. The one that does all their like exports. Interesting. I don't know what to make of any of that. Is Pixar making the Buzz Lightyear movie or is it someone else? Either way, it sounds very silly. You know, yeah, Rocket Cat, it does feel a bit like a fever dream. It's very Grindhouse. I mean, a lot of the elements are there. Like, there's certainly like, oh, okay, this is a bit like Blood at moments. And it's like, okay, well, this is a bit Indiana Jones. And then it's a little bit like a war film at times, and it's very strange. It does not feel like a real film at all. The dialogue is very as well. Everything is, yeah. I don't know what to make of it, if I'm honest, and I'm really curious about the production, because to me it's just like I don't understand why 4C made this, considering what they've made beforehand. But I guess that's part of the fun, and maybe I can convey that in a video. It's just very confusing. But I mean, this is definitely a period where 4C is doing a lot of exporting work, I guess you could say. Like we're going to be getting into like their Warner animation block. I might try and turn that into a video. It might be very weird to be a video, but I might take like the title I'm thinking of is something like how DC Animation uses anime, something like that. Just to, like, I'll be able to sort of talk, very glossally about like how Warner had used telecom in the past to animate some of their prior TV shows, and then 4C became like a force at directing. I think it was at least three, two and a half, maybe 2.5 of their productions. The Green Lantern one, the 2013 Flash film with the weird meme thing at the end, and then they did a short for Gotham Knight. And then also going from there to just mention how 4C has a relationship with Warner Animation. They directed the Thundercats TV show from 2011. They also did a fight sequence for Gumball a couple of years ago. So like, they seem to be in a friendly relationship with these companies. And 4C is always doing that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, well, we'll see. I haven't watched a lot of Twinny Witches, but from what I've seen of it, it definitely reminds me of 4C Productions, but like the story is like a fever dream in itself, and I'm like, why would you structure something like this, would be my first initial thought. It's again one of those situations where I feel like it's not even real, but maybe that's because it's the same director. Maybe that's just his style of just being like, what am I looking at? Maybe that's just his thing. Have I seen Dorohedoro? No, I have not. Yeah, I hope the 4C video comes together without killing myself. That's really the key. I'm trying to write as much as I can for it. That's really been the goal recently. Is I think I've wrote 7 or so scripts for the 15 videos that it's going to come, and then after that I'll have to fill in the final blanks. And get that all out by December. I'm hoping, the way it looks like for me, by the 15th of this month, I want to start just editing. So like, however far I've got through like watching and writing up stuff, by the 15th, I have to start editing, because I'm going to need to really like edit quickly. A lot of it should be clip selection, so I'm hoping because it's mainly clip selection, I should edit it quite quickly. So I might be able to just like power through editing a lot of them. We'll find out, I guess. But yeah, if I have like 2 weeks of dedicated editing before I even have the first video out, that's a good like gap stop for me. I don't think any of the videos will be like super long this time. I don't know if any of them are going to like crack 20 minutes, but together they'll make a very long video. But yeah, that's where we are. Oh, okay. What is even happening? I'm getting something confusing. Maybe my thing's bugging out, but it looks like the number of people in the viewers went up very high for a second, and I don't know why. Maybe YouTube is playing games on me, because that doesn't seem normal. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a second. It's probably just glitching. So, because I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I was going to end the stream in a second. So, I don't know what to tell you, fellas. Oh, apparently no. Okay, maybe that's just... I'm not sure what's doing that. Alright, well, if there's a lot of people randomly joining the chat, I'll do a little housekeeping quickly. So the link in the description is towards the latest video I've made on Fantastic Planet. At the same time, I made a video on Nausicaa recently, if you're interested in the history of Ghibli. And we were just sitting down and chatting. I didn't have anything special to say outside of we're working on something about Studio 4C month, which will come out in December. So yeah, cool. Cool. But like in about 15 minutes or so, I'm probably gonna eat some dinner or something. I'm afraid it's getting a little bit late on my side. I'm a little bit like I'm a little bit tired. Frankly, and these shorts are actually really uncomfortable. I don't know why I'm wearing them. Ugh. Also, I can't. If you like my shirt, it's a good shirt. I don't know what else to say. What can you do? I hope everyone's having a nice time. Oh, okay. All right, everyone, fellas. I've gotten some information from someone else in my Discord who's told me about... It sounds like the idea for finishing the Dream Machine, Satoshi Kon's final movie, as we were talking about in one of my videos of last year, where I was talking about how they should go forward with it. It sounds, at least from the information that's coming out, or what I've been told, is that the new movie of Dream Machine, if anyone doesn't know, in the next 2 years, I think, 2024, apparently Dream Machine will actually be finished, and it sounds like they're finishing the prior production, so they're finishing the third of the movie that was already done. And Murayama has been working on it 8 to 12 minutes of footage a year. Oh wow, they're really going there, but there's no new direct... Whoa! Masao Murayama is finishing it himself? What a fucking Chad! Holy shit! That's amazing. That motherfucker has just decided, yeah, no director was good enough, I'll finish it myself. Oh my god, that's such a move. Holy shit. So that's what he's been doing. Can you believe it? Murayama-san really did like go hard on that. Like he did say he'd finish it, and he's finished it. That's amazing. Oh, by the way, lads, we're not going to finish for another 10 minutes. I'm not going to leave quite yet. But yeah, that is a mad lad move. Let's not pretend that isn't Masao Murayama finishing Kon's final film by himself. Let me just put this down for everyone for a second, because Masao Murayama is like, he's in his 80s. He is currently 80 years old, and he is a producer too. He's not a director by any trade. He's been a producer for a very long time, a co-founder of Madhouse. Probably one of the best people in the industry if you want to be, a creator, I guess, in terms of like how much freedom he gave to specific people he worked with. Like, you know, the kingmaker in a way. Like a lot of the people who have became real names in the industry currently came out of Madhouse. And because of him giving them the free rein to like make shows and do stuff. So, like, there's no one I quite respect more in the producer circle than Murayama. And even more so today, like, hearing that he's been finishing the film himself is just, like, I don't even know what to say for that. Like, just making, like, 12 more minutes of the film every year. That's kind of fantastic in a way that I don't know how it will turn out, but, like, I guess if anyone would finish one of Kon's projects, I guess Murayama would know more than most. He would be the person to do it. Which is just incredible. Yeah, he's 80 years old. This 80-year-old man has decided, like, yeah, I'm going to finish this film on my own. I'm going to finish Dream Machine, Kon's final film, by myself. And his animators, that's someone else. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, okay, we had a... Okay. Alright. Yeah, he's 80 years old, at least. I was contacted by someone in my thing. I can... The problem is that the source I have, I think, is in Spanish, maybe? Wait a minute, sorry, my mouse is playing up, but I can put it in the chat, but I don't know if it's in English. Oh yeah, it's in Spanish, but I'll put it in the chat for everyone if they want it. I don't know why the Spanish people are announcing this, but I don't know. There you go, everyone. Apparently it's time coded. That's what I was given. It's a conference of some sort. But yeah, apparently they announced it, so that's pretty wild. Alright. Alright, boys. We're gonna... I will be ending the stream probably in a second, guys, because I'm tired and I need to eat some dinner. But yeah, I don't know what to say after that. That was such a like... like if this is true, then I don't even know what to say. I do not know what to say, I'm afraid. That's just something else to me, that someone could be like, yeah, I'm gonna finish the whole film myself, slowly for the last couple of years, and I'd not even mention it. I'm gonna see if I can find a different source for it at some point, but I don't even know what to make of that. That's why you gotta respect Moriyama. You gotta respect the guy. He's someone else. Absolute king. That's all I could say. Yeah, sorry, my mind's went blank now. I don't know, that was just such a revelation. I mean, I was looking through stuff about the first squad. I was just curious why the hell they made this film, but it's nowhere as interesting as the idea of Moriyama finishing the film himself. I'm actually going to check right now. I'm going to check right now if I can find a different source that's in English. Maybe like ANA or something, just to see if anyone else has like reported on this, just so I can find out if we're on the right board here. Like, what is going on? Let me find news. Anything? There's some mentions of it, like obviously that documentary came out recently. No, it doesn't seem like anyone else has mentioned this yet, so I don't know if I should probably take this as a pinch of salt until I see like an actual confirming source. Yeah, I don't know, like this is the source I was giving. I don't know, like I'll have to. We'll probably hear some updates tomorrow or something, if this be true. I don't know why these people are telling people about it, but that's what I've been told at least. That's the information I've been given from dubious sources. But it came. Wait a minute. I'll just check this. Whatever I've been given here. So Moriyama should film Satoshi Kon delivered, because this is coming from something called Ramen Parados, but I don't know what Ramen Parados is. I don't know why they know about this beyond everyone else, but I guess they must be working in relation to him or something. So it was a conference on Paprika and Satoshi Kon. Includes soon we will have a fully uploaded video. Yeah, apparently I don't know how they know that, but that's what we've been given. I'm very confused. But yeah, I guess we'll see. If it's true, it's pretty amazing. Big if true. Big if true, everyone. Big if true. I mean, it seems like it's came directly from there, so I don't know. I literally don't know how to follow that up, I'm afraid. Right. If that's the case, well, if that is the case, then probably I should just end the stream now. Sorry, I'm probably ending it a little bit early today, but I'm speechless. I guess I'll wait another time to do my TV tropes dinner with Andre commentary. The big revelation? The revelation that may or may not be true is allegedly that Masao Moriyama, the producer from Once Upon a Time who co-founded Madhouse, has been finishing the film Dream Machine by Satoshi Kon on his own for the last couple of years, and that plans to have finished it by 2024, which is very impressive for multiple reasons. I mean, he's probably not animating himself, but he's been like directing the picture with his team for, I guess, the last God knows how many years. He said he'd been doing 10 minutes a year or something like that, 10, 12 minutes a year. So he may have been doing this for like literally 10 years. I don't know. He literally could have been maybe the last 5 years. Who knows? Whenever he decided that he was going to finish it himself as director, and then working with a team of animators he's probably picked up from the past, or who was working on it beforehand. Probably finishing at M2. If that is true, which it's a kind of dubious source, but if it is true, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean, it sounded like the project was done for. Like, Murayama literally said, like, he couldn't find anyone to fill the spot. So, like, as someone said earlier, he decided to do it himself in the Thanos way. But I guess we'll have to hear, because Random Conference doesn't fill me with confidence. Let's put it that way. But that's what I've been told. If it's true, then it is pretty big. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, the source I have is like the main source, which is from that like Spanish meeting there, and there was a Twitter thread that they were doing, but I can't really, until someone else says something about it, I have no idea if they're like what their business is or what they do. I guess maybe they talked to the man himself, I don't know. We'll find out very soon. But yeah, I think that's the true ending for everyone. I think it's time for me to end the stream, because I literally, my mind isn't working anymore. I hope you have a nice night, and I'll catch you probably next week. Every Sunday, I always sit down. Maybe it'll be a different day soon. Maybe Wednesday we'll do something, because I'll probably need to do a lot of drawing, but it depends how much writing I've done at the time. So, thank you for coming. Maybe next time we'll talk about Dinner with Andre. Or something along those lines. I don't know. We'll see. Catch you then. Bye-bye.